the Winter 16 release overview and highlights webinar. Thank you for joining us on this lovely fall Tuesday morning. Hopefully you all have a nice warm cup of hot chocolate with 3 marshmallows as required by the Winter 16 release logo. If not, we'll give you a hashtag. You can tweet out what you're drinking. I'll be curious to find out. But without further ado, as we have still some people joining us today, I want to take time to introduce our speakers. I will start off with myself. My name is Mike Gerholt. I am a Salesforce admin evangelist. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Gerholt. I'm joined by 2 of the smartest people I know. Dave Carroll, Senior Director, Developer Evangelist. You can follow him on Twitter at dcarroll. Hi, Dave.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Glad to have you on. And of course, our demo master, she was on the Lightning launch, she was in the admin keynote. Leanne Templeman, you can follow her at the coolest handle of the 3 of us, at LeanneDroid.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining.
I should say that we already did this webinar, and the people that were listening to it tweeted quite a bit. So for the second round, you have a high bar. Of course, we're using the hashtag #DevWinter16. So if you're drinking some hot chocolate, we'd love to know what you're drinking during our webinar. That way you can tweet to all of your friends what you're missing out on. It wouldn't be a Salesforce webinar, it wouldn't be a Salesforce presentation without the famous safe harbor slide. So of course, this just reminds you to please make all purchasing decisions based on current features and functionality and not on any forward-looking statements or features that we may mention. This lovely slide in its entirety, all of the text can be found at salesforce.com. Just search on the term safe harbor. So with that legalese out of the way, let's talk about going social. So we want you to be involved with this webinar. What you love, tweet out screenshots, and of course, cups of hot chocolate. You can find us on Twitter at Salesforce Devs with the hashtag DevWinter16. That refers to this webinar. At Salesforce Admins, there's no I in admins, and you can find other awesome admins using the hashtag AwesomeAdmin. On Facebook, there's Salesforce developers. Of course, we're admins and developers are on LinkedIn and YouTube. And YouTube reminds me that, hey, this webinar is being recorded. So don't worry if you missed part of it or you had to step out to get another cup of hot chocolate. Sometimes it works. It's an hour long. You might go through a few cups. We will post this webinar on the same page, which is the URL that you use to register. So don't forget the hashtag DevWinter16. Talk about all the fun features that you see. And we're going to talk a lot about features, and I bet you're going to have a few questions. Fortunately, we're not going to talk about everything. It was 400 pages of release notes, so we have a lot to cover. But if you do have a question, go to bit.ly/release readiness Salesforce. There's a group in the success community all called Release Readiness, where there's a ton of people answering questions. Shout out to Chris Manton in the UK, who did a wonderful job of posting links to all of the release notes. Thank you for that. So don't wait until the end to ask your question. You can jump in the success community and start asking right now. Please do one thing, and that's kind of respect some Q&A. See what's been asked, see if there's, maybe your question has already been posted and there's a few links and a few answers there. If not, go ahead and post it. That way we're not repeating questions. And the cool part of this webinar is sticking around for the end. There will be live Q&A where myself, Dave, and Leanne will answer your questions. So yours might get asked and be enshrined forever on YouTube in the Winter 16. So what are we going to talk about? What's our agenda today? What do the things look like? Well, the first thing we're going to cover is how to stay up to date with Salesforce release information. We're going to give you a link that you can bookmark, and then you'll always know where to find release notes and information based on the current release. Leanne's going to do a fabulous demo of the new Lightning Experience because we're about to get struck by lightning in Winter 16. Dave's got some cool Winter 16 release features for developers he's going to talk about, and I won't spoil the surprise, but there is a green screen involved. I will follow that up with some awesome Winter 16 release features for admins and we'll conclude the entire webinar with some best practices for admins and developers when rolling out the Lightning experience. And of course, the part that everybody sticks around for, the live Q&A at the end. So with that, I want to talk about how we stay up to date with the release information. So Salesforce has 3 releases a year, and it always seems like they're coming on you constantly. So Winter 16's almost here. How do we stay up to date with release information? We go to salesforce.com/new features. This is, as you'll see in the screenshot to the right, where we can get all the information we need. We can download the release notes, we can access the release preview, we can get an admin's quick win guide, and of course watch Release Readiness Live, which are the nice little bite-sized chunk videos to help you see some of the brand new features. As I mentioned, we also have a Release Readiness community. That's where we're asking and answering questions right now during this webinar. But after the webinar concludes, you can also ask and answer questions. There's a ton of people in there posting links to release notes and specific features so that you can read more about it. And of course, as a Salesforce admin or developer, trust.salesforce.com is a great location that we can stay up to date, see what's going on with our current instance, and get a ton of detailed information. Now, the best part of this is I promised you a demo, and so let's get to Leanne with the brand new Lightning experience and a very cool demo. So, Leanne, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks, Mike. So I'm really excited to show you some of the highlights of the Lightning experience and Winter 16. As we mentioned, this is not exhaustive. There's so much in this release. So we picked a few key pieces that we wanted to point out. Now, this screen, you might not be very excited by this. This is your classic homepage screen. And the reason I wanted to start here is because I think it's really important, especially for admins and devs on the phone, that we start with what your experience is when you enable Lightning. So we have an entirely new Lightning experience setup page here in Classic Setup. And this has all of the links to details for training, best practices, overviews of various features that are related to Lightning, and it's all in one place. So we have features that are Lightning related, like account insights and social accounts and leads. We also have permission sets. I really want to highlight this. With Lightning, you are really in the driver's seat as an administrator of a Salesforce org, because you can determine when you'd like to turn on Lightning, as well as who you're going to roll it out to and in what process you're going to roll it out. So we have permission sets here for user access to Lightning experience. Now, when we are ready to enable Lightning, we flip this switch to enable the Lightning experience. And when I do that, I'll have a new user option here for switch to Lightning experience. So I can switch back and forth between Lightning and Classic for my user experience once I have that enabled. So we're going to spend some time talking about this homepage. This new Lightning, the desktop experience is very sales-centric, but again, this is an admin and developer webinar, so I really want to show you the new setup. There's a few key parts of new Lightning setup that we've added to make it more efficient, easier to navigate around, better organized in setup. So one that I'd like to highlight is the new Object Manager. I think this is awesome. I definitely remember having to go through the various setup trees, especially when you're, say, building a custom app or building a number of custom objects, and going through setup trees to navigate between your custom and standard objects. With the new Object Manager and Lightning setup, we have that all in one place. So I have my standard objects like accounts are nested alongside in the same tree as our custom objects like Bike Demo Event. Now, of course, that means you do then have a lot of items in one page. And for those of you who love the quick search for, say, accounts in the setup tree, you can use that same quick search here to search across all of your key custom and standard objects. So if I click into, say, my Bike Demo Event, I still have all of my details here for my custom object in this new setup page. The second thing I want to point out in the new Lightning setup is our Create menu. The Create menu is available throughout all of setup, and what it does is allows admins or any of your administrator users to do those actions you most often do in setup without navigating back to the force.com homepage. So whether that's creating users, creating tabs, we've added this here to ensure that you're able to not slow down as you're working and as you're doing those things you do most often in setup. Now let's take a look at what our homepage looks like. We kind of breezed through it, so I want to give you an overview. I have my sidebar navigation here that I can expand and collapse as I need to, and I can navigate to the homepage just by clicking on the homepage tab. I do want to point out there's a number of standard objects available here and standard tabs available here, as well as some new items like tasks has its own home. We have a new notes engine that has its own home here as well. When I'm done, I can always just minimize that and free up the real estate. This Lightning homepage, as I mentioned, is really sales-centric. So what we're doing is we're making it really easy and smart for your sales users especially to navigate around the homepage and be able to action items quickly. So we have an interactive performance chart that's going to automatically look at all of those users' opportunities as they have them in various stages throughout the quarter. We can also interact and edit their goals. So if a sales user, for example, has updates to their goal or they have personal goals they're trying to attain, we can update that as well and see it reflected immediately. We have insights that are going to look at account news, industry news, and bubble that up on the homepage, as well as an assistant. Now the assistant's going to be, it's very smart. It looks at all of your open tasks. It looks at any new leads that are assigned to a user, any overdue tasks or opportunities that need attention. And there's a few different pieces of criteria for opportunities that need attention, which we're going to see more of in a minute. But it's all summarized here in the assistant. Now, we saw that there's a number of customizations that our admins built in this org. And using the new Lightning App Launcher, if I click on the waffle here at the top, we can make those apps available to our users. All the apps that they have access to, they can see in one place in the App Launcher. So standard apps along with custom apps like volunteer time and bike demos, as well as connected apps or third-party apps from the App Exchange are all contained here in the App Launcher. Now, let's take a look at how we've shifted how users can engage with their list views and specifically their opportunities. I think for anyone who's a Salesforce user who uses list views, many of us have created like custom naming conventions in order to find our list views. I know I've created ones like asterisk, LT, things like that, so I can navigate to my list views and find them, because usually there's lots and lots of list views that are sometimes contained in one tab. Now, with this new list views, the first thing that I notice is how I engage with it is that I automatically see all of my recent list views that I've looked at. But I also have search. So I can click into my top opportunities right from that list. Now when I click into this list view, I can see the items that are reflected here, so all those opportunities. I can also see the slide out for my filters. So if I want to make edits or change this or create a new list view, I can do that as well. One thing that's really cool, Lightning is really analytics strong, and we're going to be talking about that a few times today. But in our list views and opportunities, we have this embedded analytics and embedded charting, which means that our sales users can, without having to navigate away from this list view, look at, say, pipeline by fiscal period, pipeline by account, pipeline by stage, and also add additional reports. For these standard reports, like pipeline by stage, they can even change it. So they can change the way that they're looking at that data and view the details and summary details below. That's really powerful for those users that maybe are navigating to a dashboard specifically to see their pipeline. They can see that now here in their list views. That's not all. Not only can users look at their list views and look at their charts and get a high-level overview of where they are, they can also start to action those deals. So this is the new Lightning Opportunity Board. And what I can do here is see a visual representation of that list view and of all the opportunities that meet that criteria in the various stages, along with key details like the date and links to the account. It's also actionable. So I see these little alerts here, and we'll see this throughout the new Lightning experience. The alert here is that there's no task. So without leaving the page, I can quickly add, say, a follow-up task reminder for myself, and that'll be updated and that alert will be removed. So again, without leaving the page, I can schedule those reminders. I can do it all in one place. We can also update our deals in one place. So using this board, I have a drag and drop interface that'll automatically retotal and let me shift the stage of these. Now, if you do have validation rules in place, this will respect the validation rules, and the user will have to go to the actual opportunity record to make those updates as needed, but this will respect any existing validation rules you have in place. Now, let's take a look at what the new opportunity experience looks like beyond this. So once we want to drill into a specific opportunity, I can click into the specific sporting supply fall inventory opportunity, and I'm taken to the new opportunity workspace in Lightning. So this is very customizable by admins, as well as very usable, and it's got a different layout that we saw in Classic. So first off, I want to highlight this highlights panel, highlight the highlights panel. I was able to customize this with point and click using compact layouts, and even including custom fields like a roll-up summary field. So I can determine for my various objects what's the most important information that I want to bubble up to the top. Opportunity Workspace is really activity-centric, so the first thing we see is our activity feed here, but of course we have our collaboration feed as well. So all those conversations and picture sharing and all of that can happen here in the collaboration feed. Now, if you've created a number of page layouts, custom fields, custom sections, using the page layout editor, that's still here. So we do have the new opportunity workspace in Lightning, but that work that you've already done to ensure that the right types of users are seeing the right information, that's still respected here and included here in this details area. So I can see my custom section. I built this using the page layout editor. I can also see on the right my related list. So I've got my custom objects, custom related objects. Files has a new home, so we've got our files related list right here. Now this page is really usable, but if I'm an admin or developer and I want to further customize this page, I'm going to use the new Lightning App Builder for a record home. So in context here, I click Edit Page. Now this is going to be available on all Developer Edition orgs in a self-service opt-in pilot that are on Winter 16. So this is something that it's in pilot in Winter 16, and it's for DE orgs. It's a self-service opt-in pilot, and I highly encourage, if you're thinking about enabling Lightning, if this is interesting to you, I really suggest getting in there and playing around with this. Here's our canvas here. Now this may look familiar if you've seen App Builder in the past, but what is different about this record home App Builder is I can have components that are specific to opportunities, so specific to this record and this type of record. I can also make changes to the page here. So we saw some of our standard items like related lists. Using the App Builder for our opportunity, I can drag something like the related lists and put it at the top of the page. And that's something that in the past would have required Visualforce. Changing the position of a related list relative to the form here would have required rebuilding the entire page. But now you can customize the look and feel of this page, as well as add custom components and standard components in addition. So I have, say, Visualforce that I've already invested in Visualforce in my company. We've already built out Visualforce pages using the Lightning Design System. I can update this Visualforce and make it Lightning ready, so I have it available as a Visualforce component to add. I also have a number of managed components here from the App Exchange for components. So I've got a combination of free and paid apps. So I have an opportunity-specific component here from the TAS group called Opportunity Health Check. So I can just drag and drop that over to the sidebar. Now when I save this and go back, I'll see those updates are available real time for my end users to engage with. Now one last thing I want to show you on this demo is dashboards. So I mentioned that we're really analytics forward. We've got some really exciting updates to how our users and admins and anyone who builds reports and developers can engage with analytics. And one of the cherry on top of that is the new dashboards. So I can see, I'd just like to admire this for a moment. I think it's really pretty. Different information is going to be represented differently. And with our dashboards in Lightning, we let you do that. So using the dashboard editor here, something like, say, a number component, maybe it needs to be smaller. It doesn't need to be that big because I do want to contain more information on that top line. So I can drag and drop and resize components and reflect my data and my reports in a way that makes the most sense for my dashboard and for my org. So just a few drag and drops here. There's a horizontal and vertical bar charts are really fun to resize. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And so now we have 4-column dashboards, which is really exciting, as well as information reflected in a balanced way. We can still drill into our component and view the details for that report. So this is a new experience as well. This is the new Lightning Report Viewer. So this is the experience your users will be taken to if they're drilling into the report, if it's a report they have access to. And they can start to interact with the chart, again, in a really quick and easy way. They can choose how they want the information represented. Set on a horizontal there. They can view details, additional details about the report in this report viewer. But one piece I really want to point out as well is the filters. So this is an exciting new feature for anyone who creates reports or is responsible for creating reports or likes to share reports. We've added the addition of locked filters when you're creating a report, which means that you can create a report, set down a certain number of filters as non-editable by the viewers, and push it out and make it available to all of your users you want to view it. So they can still view the report, they can interact with it to a certain degree, so you can determine, I do want them to be able to edit some fields, like maybe the close date, and interact with it, but I also want to maintain that report and data integrity and have a specific set of locked filters so we know everyone's looking at the same report. What this says to me is it's going to remove, I remember having like many cloned reports and having reports where everyone had slightly different filters and you had to try to figure out what the variations were. This means you can all view one report and have some editability, but still have the same core report. So that's just a few of the features in Lightning. As we said, there's a lot to talk about, and I'm going to turn it over to Dave to tell you more about some of the exciting developer features.
Okay, Leanne, I'll be sharing my screen here in just a moment. The Lightning experience is really amazing. I don't get tired of looking at that. For those who don't know, I've been looking at Salesforce Classic UI for 13 years, and so it's really refreshing to see the direction that we're going here. But what I want to talk about is slightly different, talk about some features that are available in Winter 16 for developers. Mike and Liam both mentioned the fact that there's like over 400 new features in this release, and this isn't meant to be an exhaustive discussion of all of them, but just highlight some ones that I think are important and critical for developers. So let's go ahead and get started with new tools and features. One of the new things that you can do, and what you'll notice is a lot of the stuff that we're talking about for developers is about developer experience and improving that. And this first one really talks to that. The ability to run selected tests in the dev console. Now, we've been able to run tests in the dev console in the past, but this new feature provides a level of granularity for selecting which tests within your test class you want to run. And this will make it so that when you're trying to solve a problem, trying to cover your code, trying to make sure that you have proper test coverage, you don't have to run every single test that's contained in a class. You can just pick and choose individual tests to run. So that's a really nice feature that should help speed up development. Also, if you've done any Apex development, you've probably received an exception notification in email from some unhandled exception from Apex. Previously, this kind of defaulted to the creator of the Apex class, and now we give you the ability to select or specify different recipients of email notifications. This is important when maybe you worked on a project 3 years ago and something starts failing and you're not even on that project anymore. And so this will keep the actual org owners aware of what's going on in their org. Also, we've allowed the ability to set audit fields and update records with inactive owners. And this gets to loading and unloading data in and out of Salesforce. Sometimes you have data that has owners specified that are no longer active. They used to be a problem, but now we've solved that. JSON objects are becoming more and more critical as we start doing more development with the front-end JavaScript libraries, more development with other services that are returning JSON. And so what we've done for this release is made JSON deserialization and serialization more flexible, and thereby make it more reliable. So just briefly, in the past, you had to, when you were deserializing a JSON object, you had to have a concrete object defined in Apex that had all the fields that existed in the JSON payload. And as we know, we don't necessarily care about every single field that's returned to us from somebody's web service, but we don't want that to fail either. And so that will not fail now. And also we've improved the ability to map directly JSON objects to maps of maps so that you actually don't have to define any concrete class. The ability to customize connected app behavior with Apex allows the developer to have more granular control over how that connected app behaves, what access the particular user might have to data within the org as well. And so this is a nice trust and security feature that a lot of people have been asking for. Also, the ability to lock and unlock records within approval process is really important for your data reliability, your data cleanliness. And so within Apex code in Winter 16, you can now lock and unlock that data. It used to be that once you were in an approval process, you were pretty much locked. So this gives you, again, more elbow room, more flexibility. Now the two at the bottom, protect your data with platform encryption and wave analytics. These are actually two of my favorite parts of the release. Platform encryption allows you to have data encrypted at rest inside the Salesforce database. So it used to be that encryption happened when the data was transmitted across the wire to the client. This allows you to encrypt your data entirely within the servers. And this is a requirement for a lot of regulatory compliance and other kind of security issues. And so this allows you to stay compliant. And then finally, wave analytics. Wave analytics is going to be available in the developer edition at no charge. And this is an awesome opportunity for developers to start digging into all the things that they can do with wave analytics. Wave analytics is more than just nice animated, pretty charts. There's a lot of data analysis processing, and as we saw in some of the sessions at Dreamforce, there's some machine learning that you can tie to the actual wave analytics platform. So those are very exciting, two very exciting features. Now, of course, the big news is Lightning components are generally available, and what this means for developers is that we're starting to publish the components that are going to live on, right? So once things are generally available, we stand by them. And of course, Lightning components are used throughout the Lightning experience. It's basically the underpinning technology for Lightning experience. But you can also use Lightning components within standalone Lightning apps, components for Salesforce1 mobile, Visualforce pages, and this is one of my favorite parts as well, is because we've invested so much over the years in Visualforce pages, wouldn't it be nice to be able to combine Lightning component technology with Visualforce technology? And sure enough, we can with a Lightning component tag for Visualforce. You can also use components as you're building out communities. And of course, as we've seen in the demo, Lightning App Builder and Lightning Pages are great for components. Now you're going to start to see, hopefully, well, not hopefully, we've actually seen quite a few new components on the App Exchange. And on the App Exchange, there's a dedicated place where you as a developer or an admin can go find components, ones that are basically shrink wrapped, or ones that you can use in developing your own component as kind of a starting point. So Lightning components, get on the train. Now, how do you get on that train? Well, the first step is to go to Trailhead. So we've got some new trails around building Lightning components around the Salesforce Lightning design system, around using Visualforce and Lightning components together. And so I highly encourage you to go to Trailhead and begin your journey there. Start exploring the things that you can do and understanding where you can go with Lightning components. Now I've got two demos that I want to do for you today on CRUD, on external objects. CRUD means create, read, update, and delete. Now, we released external objects or Salesforce or Lightning Connect in our previous release, but everything was read-only. In other words, you can bring the data into Salesforce UI and look at it, but you couldn't do anything else. This release brings the full editing capability to that data. So let's go ahead and jump into the demo. If you haven't seen external objects before, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what those look like. And it all starts with an external data source. An external data source is basically the connection to that external data. And in this case, I've got this one that's defined as OData test. And basically all I do is give it a URL and some other configuration elements to connect to my data source. Once I've got that and I click validate and sync, the data source returns to me all of the information that is available at the end of that source. In this case, there's 3 tables, and I've selected to sync up categories. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. Categories now. This is an object that's living at some other data point outside of the Salesforce environment, but it is represented within Salesforce as a custom object, or near enough to a custom object. The reason why I say near enough is because it behaves like a custom object in that you can modify the page layouts, you can add custom fields and relationships to this object, you get an API endpoint for this object. Basically, you can manipulate this external object like you would a custom object. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what that might look like in the UI. So I'm going to go over here to my Categories tab. And within the Categories tab, I've got a related list where I can view all the objects in that database. So these are the rows that are in some OData service. And to demonstrate how this CRUD piece actually behaves, I'm going to pop over to the Force.com CLI. I'm just going to make sure that I'm logged in as the right person. It looks like I am. And what I'm going to do is grab a command from my little cheat sheet. Yep, after all this time, I still use cheat sheets. And paste this in here. Now what this is doing is it's telling the Force CLI to create a record for the categories table and set these 2 fields. And you'll notice that the categories is noted by __x, and that's how we differentiate it from a custom object. And then the fields, of course, are custom fields with __c. So when I execute this command, it says that I have created a record and it gives me the ID back. So let's go take a look at that record inside the Force.com environment. I'll just refresh this page. And sure enough, there's my breads object with the ID 4. I can, drill into it like I would any other object. I don't have any related list. I can also, if I wanted to, take advantage of the built-in editing capability. So this is behaving just like a custom object that I would have created through the standard setup UI. So that's CRUD on external objects. I think it's again, it's a really cool feature because it allows you to integrate with back-end systems, with other services at a level that enables the admin to have power over what happens to that data once it comes into Salesforce. Instead of having an Apex class that goes out and makes a call out, and then the data is basically kind of hidden within a specific use case, this is available throughout the Salesforce experience, the Lightning experience. So that's great, but something that has been asked for a long time is the ability to debug Apex in a more traditional way. So for those of you who are developers, you'll know this. If you're not, what we like to do is when we're running into a problem, we like to step through our code line by line and see what the values are of the variables and other objects that we're dealing with, thereby hopefully discover where we made our mistake and caused a bug. And so for Winter 16, we have an Apex Debugger plugin for the Eclipse IDE. So it provides standard debugging actions like step into and step over. We get to set breakpoints. This is for any Apex classes and triggers, your visual force controllers, your lightning controllers on the server side. You can view variables, including all the S objects and collections, and so on. So let me go ahead and demo this for you. So I'm here now in the Eclipse IDE, and I've created a very simple class called myClass, and I've got this method called run. And I can go ahead and run this method, but what I want to do first is pop over to my debug perspective. Now, if I go ahead and execute this method, you'll see that it runs, outputs this test string, everything looks good. But now say I want to go figure out the problem with my code. So I can just come up here and click on Debug Apex. And what's happening is we're establishing a connection directly to Salesforce. We're basically spinning up this thread that is protected on Salesforce that allows interaction between Eclipse and the platform. And so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and set a breakpoint here on line 12 just by double-clicking. And now, if I go ahead and execute this anonymous again, what we'll see is, sure enough, the code has stopped at this point in my code. And you'll notice up at the top, I've got a nice stack trace going on. I've also got access to my variables over here, where I can see each account that was returned from my query and the data in those accounts. The next thing I'll do is maybe just go ahead and step through. And let's watch as the count variable changes. I can see that that's gone from 0 to 1. Again, I can watch as my account names list gets populated with account names where the billing state's in California. And let's say I solve my problem, and there I can just go ahead and finish running it. But you're not limited to doing this entirely within the Eclipse IDE. Now the debugger is within the Eclipse IDE, but I can also run code from elsewhere and debug it in the IDE. And so to do that, let's go back to our friend the CLI, and I'm going to just log in to a sandbox org. Get my saved credentials out of here. There we go. And allow the CLI access. Okay, so now when I come back to the CLI, I'm going to go ahead and ask it to execute some Apex code. And it's going to be exactly the code that we did in the IDE. So it's going to be run, and then Control-D to execute the code. And now I'll go back to the debugger, and you'll notice that this hasn't returned yet. And in the debugger, we're at our breakpoint. And again, we can see exactly the same things that we could see when we were debugging directly from within the IDE. So that is that's the debugger. I think it's actually pretty amazing technology. It's available only in our sandbox for right now, but you can debug Visualforce, Lightning, you can debug triggers, controllers, everything that has Apex in it will be available for debugging through the debugger. Pretty cool, right? I think it's pretty cool. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and flip it back over to Mike to tell us about some new features in Winter 16 specifically for admins, but also very useful for developers. So Mike?
Thanks, Dave. I was just monitoring Twitter, and people love that you did a live debugger demo. So kudos to you.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's been a big ask for a long time.
All right, so Winter 16 for admins. We have some stuff to talk about, some resources. No live debugger. That's okay. First thing I want to point out is the Admin Quick Wins Guide. The Quick Wins Guide, we've talked a lot about Lightning, and you've probably, if you kept track of how many times we said Lightning during this webinar, you're going to quickly run out of ink in your pen. But the Winter 16 Admin Quick Wins Guide has 7 features that admins can easily turn on and start enjoying the benefit of the Winter 16 release. And they're not all Lightning related, and they do cross all of our clouds. So it's got sales and service, marketing, it's got some developer stuff in there. Definitely check it out. I know we will post the link into the webinar chat shortly to that PDF. I think it's a really great resource for admins. But the next thing I want to talk about, a few features that really stood out to me. The first one, and we saw the demo of it with Leanne at the beginning. If you are a new admin to Salesforce or an experienced admin, sometimes finding your objects in the setup tree was a little bit of a treasure hunt. So your standard objects were in one location, your custom objects were in another location. With the new Lightning Experience, our object manager is all the objects. So all the objects are in one location with the Lightning Experience. Another reason to start planning your migration, which we'll talk about, but your standard and custom objects are all in one place. We saw that with Dave's demo. We saw that in Leanne's demo. As an admin, that makes searching around the setup tree a lot easier. So I was very excited for that. The other feature I was personally excited for, if you're an admin, you've ever had to add any roll-up summary fields. And roll-up summary fields are a great way to count child records, so it's a great way to bring some opportunity information up to the account level. You knew that 10 just kind of didn't cut it most of the time. In fact, I burned through my 10 in the first week I was an admin. So the good news, in Winter 16, we're increasing roll-up summary fields by 150%, which means that you can now have 25 roll-up summary fields. And of course, roll-up summary fields are available in both Lightning Experience and in Salesforce Classic. This could be the most boring slide. To me, it's the most exciting slide because roll-up summary fields are totally my best friend. But what else do we have? Holy cow. Replacing pick list values, it all happens, right? It's inevitable that sales leadership may come in and change things, or after a year or two, we need to replace a pick list value. And with Winter 16, it's a more intuitive process. So rather than demoing how to change a pick list value, because it could be less than exciting, I wanted to show you the really cool part. And the really cool part for me was that admins get an email notification to let you know when the job is completed. And I was so excited, I actually included a screenshot of that email notification to show you what it looks like. So I just did a couple pick list replacements on the account lead source for contact and opportunity. I changed word of mouth, which is the standard one, to trade show. And it sent me an email, which I think is fabulous. So I know we're super busy as admins. There's a lot of meetings we're in. There's a lot of things we're working on. But to get that email to let you know everything has been completed, it was completely intuitive, by the way. to do the replacement process. I really like that. I thought that was a great feature for Winter 16. So we've talked a lot about Lightning, and we kicked off the webinar with Leanne doing a great demo of the new Lightning experience. Dave jumped in and out of Lightning as a developer and also showed us some new features for developers. But as a Salesforce admin and as a Salesforce developer, you know, what does this mean, rolling Lightning out? So I want to take a minute and talk to what does it mean to guide your business on a journey. So it's not walking in one day. We saw how easy it is to flip Lightning on. Leanne did that demo, and it's literally a switch. We flip a switch and boom, we have Lightning. But I don't want you to walk in the office tomorrow, flip a switch, yell surprise, throw confetti, and say, hey, everybody has Lightning. I want to make sure that we take a moment, we guide our business, we guide our users on a journey, and it's really a three-part journey for us. So the first part of it is learning, the second part of it is getting hands-on, and the third part is engaging. And so I want to touch on what those three parts mean exactly. We've heard some about, Dave mentioned Trailhead. So for learning, our learning starts with Trailhead, and it's super easy to find. It's developer.salesforce.com/Trailhead. It's a fun, free way to learn Salesforce and get you hands-on. So you can sign in and you can start completing challenges and earning badges right away once you connect Trailhead to your Salesforce developer or admin account. So I said something interesting. I said badges. Well, let's talk about that. In Trailhead, we have new trails and badges specifically for admins. So we have an admin trail if you're just getting started out for beginners that helps you understand platform basics, data modeling, data management, and reports and dashboards. If you're an admin that's maybe been in the chair for a few years and you've got some experience, we have a trail for you. It helps you understand data security and formulas and validations. And of course, one of my favorite badges, which is the process automation badge, the little robot. But we also have an admin trail, and it's admin trail for CRM. So this covers CRM basics like accounts, contacts, leads, and opportunities. Now I know this is listed as an admin trail, but this is also a great trail to send your users to so that they can understand the basics of CRM. That's a lot about admins, and I know we talked a lot about Lightning, so let's talk about what we have for Lightning. So we have an admin trail called Migrating to Lightning Experience, and this will give you an overview of some of the Lightning basics and features. We have a starting with Lightning Experience admin trail to get into app customization and Lightning Experience rollout. But we didn't forget about the users. We also have a sales rep trail so that your users can get Salesforce user basics and a tour on Lightning. And in fact, what's amazing is that before this webinar, as of Dreamforce, I found out that admins have earned over 50,000 Lightning badges. So we're definitely doing a lot of learning in Trailhead. But Trailhead isn't just for admins. We also have trails and badges specifically for developers. So for the developers on the call, if you're just getting started on the platform, we have a beginning developer trail. And this will cover the platform basics, process automation, and also help you get into Apex basics, triggers, and testing. If you're a developer, much like the admins who have a little bit of time in the seat, you can jump into our developer trail that's intermediate. So you can start learning about Lightning components, which Dave talked about, and Lightning Connect, and event monitoring. And for developers looking to get hands-on with Lightning, we've got Lightning Experience developer trail, as well as a developer trail for the mobile SDK, because everybody's got a smartphone in their pocket, so why not develop for it? Now, Dave, one thing I want to talk about, we talked a lot about Lightning trails and badges, but in addition to trails and badges, we also have something called Trailhead Projects.
Yeah, Trailhead Projects are a fairly new addition to Trailhead. And what they are is most of the trails in Trailhead walk you through learning a specific part of the platform. And projects are slightly different in that their goal is the same thing, but they do it in the context of a project. For instance, we see building a Visualforce app using the Lightning design system. And so that'll walk you through building this app while using these two technologies together. Or for instance, build an account geolocation app. This starts from zero, and I think it takes about 3 hours if you're familiar with Trailhead and the platform to get to the end, but by the time you're at the end, you've got Lightning components, you've got a geolocation map, and basically a full app that you can start with. So that's what the projects are. There's, you know, if you're looking to cross the boundary, as it were, between admin and developer, we've got the quick start for Apex. So, you know, give you the basics of writing an Apex class. So those are the projects, and we expect there to be many, many more projects in the coming months.
Right. Hence the safe harbor at the beginning of the presentation.
Safe harbor.
So if we're on the third leg of our journey, the first part was learning, and obviously we're going to use Trailhead to learn more. We've got a ton of badges and a ton of projects. We can get hands-on in our developer or admin playgrounds when we connect Trailhead. The third part of that is really engaging with our users. So I think it's easy to sit back in your office and deploy new features and kind of wait for the users to come to you. I want to flip the script a little bit and have you go to the users. So there's 3 parts to engaging with your users. The first part is really gathering user feedback. And I love to do that with a chatter group. I create a chatter group called Salesforce Support where I add all of my users to it. And then that gives them a forum to ask questions that I can answer. And over time, what you'll notice is that your power users will start jumping in and answering questions for you. And of course, as we're getting ready to roll out Lightning, we can create a Lightning Experience group for our super users so that we can gather feedback and best practices so that, to make our rollout even more successful. Of course, as an admin or a developer, we can administer Salesforce from anywhere. So with Salesforce A, I can easily reset passwords because you know you've had to do that on your phone. And you can also freeze users. So in case you're heading out for bowling night a little bit early and somebody leaves the company, you can quickly freeze a user, and when you get back into the office the next day, take the time to properly deactivate them. And of course, with Salesforce A, you can easily post tips to Chatter as well. Now, the third part of engaging with your users is something I like to call SABWA, which is Salesforce Administration by Walking Around. And that's just spending a few minutes every day. I like to do it in the morning, grab a cup of coffee, or since it's winter, we can grab a cup of hot cocoa, and sit down with our users for a few minutes and talk to them about how they use Salesforce and what they most commonly do. This helps you gather feedback, which of course, if you have Salesforce A on your phone, you can post those tips right away. And it also helps you engage with your users so you can start gathering what some of those most wanted features and functionality are. And that way you're creating engagement with your users, and you're also helping them out. So oftentimes I'll find they're kind of micro moments of training. And it's only a few minutes a day. I love to do it over a cup of coffee or hot cocoa. Of course, there's some people I saw on Twitter, they've got pineapple juice and various other things. Pineapple juice actually sounds really good right now. So with that, our road to the Lightning experience began with the Lightning launch. As I pointed out, we're going to use Trailhead. We have a lot of training modules explicitly around Lightning, but also we have modules and trails for admins and developers. And once you've completed those or before, you can also dive into projects which are a little bit more immersive. We're going to use the Winter 16 release notes, which we posted a link to download. Those can be viewed online. And of course, we have our admin playground, our developer org, which is a nice, safe environment for us to try out some of these new features before we push them into production. I think Dave mentioned the Lightning design system, and it's what Leanne used in her Visualforce component to make everything pretty. So it's a great resource for developers to learn how to make your apps beautiful in the Lightning experience, and also include sample code for admins so that we can start understanding Apex code and triggers as well. And of course, we can use our playground and our developer edition to run some test use cases and bring our users in so they can start seeing what the Lightning experience looks like. And that would be our road to a successful Lightning rollout. So with that, I definitely want to thank you for sticking around on the webinar. We are not done yet. We have a few more things left. The first is the survey. We would love to get your feedback on how we're doing with our webinars. So you can go to bit.ly/winter release survey. Those 2 R's in the middle could trip you up, but it's winter release survey. Give us your feedback. I've seen a lot of great things on Twitter using the hashtag #devwinter16, so that is fantastic. And of course, this is the best part. This is the part that we teased out early on, which is the live Q&A for myself, Dave, and Leanne on some of the features, some of the demos that we've talked about during this webinar. So let's see. Let's go to the questions. Leanne, we got this actually in the last webinar, but I think it's worth bringing up. If you decided to enable Lightning Experience and want to turn it off, say after a certain period, can we do that?
So I don't know why you would want to turn Lightning off because you saw how awesome it was. But yes, you can. So that setup screen in Classic Setup does enable you to enable and disable Lightning. I really encourage everyone who's interested in starting to enable Lightning or learning about it to do the Trailhead module for navigating Lightning experience and setup. And I'll share that to the chat now as well, because it covers the setup, all of the enable, disable, everything.
Very cool. Dave, I think I asked you this question, but it's cool that it came in again. What is the Force.com CLI?
Force.com CLI is a data and metadata client that is an executable for basically doing any kind of scripting or kind of one-off work that you want to do at the command line level.
Command line. Got it.
CLI stands for Command Line Interface.
See, we learn something new every single day.
As opposed to GUI,
which stands for
Graphical User Interface.
Look at that. It's 2 things that you learned. Leanne, you did a lot of editing on those Lightning pages, and if some people don't see that, I know you mentioned about an opt-in pilot. Could you touch on that again?
Yes. So what we saw when we were changing the look and feel and adding components to the opportunity page is called App Builder for Record Home, and that's going to be available in all Developer Edition orgs on Winter 16 and Admin Playground orgs on Winter 16 through a self-service opt-in pilot. So you're going to have to flip it on yourself, and there'll be instructions that come out for that, but that will be not in your sandbox, not in your production, and it's in pilot in Winter 16.
Very cool. Well, we got a bunch of questions during this, and if we didn't get to your question because we were a little short on time, be sure to join us on the Success community. With that, I want to thank you for spending your early morning with us. For those of you on the West Coast and for those of you on the East Coast, your lunchtime.